Okay, let's look at the next one. Now here we are going to check out the concept of default arguments. So basically to illustrate default programs or the default arguments. Okay, this will be doing by writing a UDF for simple interest calculation. Okay, UDF stands for user defined function. Okay, so let's start off iostream.h, ponio.h. Okay, void main. Okay, so to calculate the simple interest we require three things: amount, rate of interest, and the time period. Okay, so since we are going to create a user defined function, let's declare the prototype. Okay, so float interest, so it is going to take a float variable. We don't actually have to give a name itself, but we can say float comma int comma, that way int t is equal to int t and float r is equal to, now what we are saying here is r is equal to 10. That is only if there is no third parameter, right? If only these two are passed, then this has to be additionally passed as a default. Okay, float amount. Now clear screen. Now here our objective is to illustrate how to use default arguments. So we are not actually going to take inputs from the user. Okay, so let's say amount is equal to interest. Now this amount should be NT. Okay, amount is equal to interest. Let us say it is 6,000. Okay, comma 5. It is 6,000 comma 5. So here we are passing only the principal and the time period. Okay, so cout by passing principal and time, SI or simple interest is equal to amount. Okay, all right, now amount is equal to interest, let's say 6,000 comma 5 comma say 8. All right, so cout would be by passing principal, time and rate of interest. SI is equal to amount. Okay, all right, so that is the, now here if you notice in the declaration we are saying float r is equal to 10.0. That means 10.0 means basically it's a float, and we are giving it a default value. Now here first time when we call it, we pass only two arguments. So here 6,000 which is the principal and 5 is the time. We are not passing any rate of interest, so by default it will take it as 10. Whereas here we are passing all the three, we are passing the rate of interest as well. So in which case, in the function, it is not going to take it as 10, it is take it as 8. Okay, now let's actually write the UDF. So float interest, float p comma int t comma float r. Okay, and now we can do the calculations in the return itself. Okay, so return p into t into r by 100, and since it should be float, it will be 0.0. Okay, now let's run this and see what happens. Return statement missing. Return, okay, missing semicolon. Okay, now okay, so here what is happening, we are passing, okay, to keep the calculation simple in our mind, let's make it as 1000. Okay, so in the first case it should come as 500. Great. 10% of 5000, 10% of 10% of 1000 is 100. For 5 years it is 500. Okay, so similarly, in the second case, 1005 and 8%. So 8% of 1000 is 8% is 80 rupees. 5 8 is a 40. So 400 rupees, which is what it is displaying. So that is how you use default values or default arguments. If it is not passed, some default argument will be passed to the function with some default values. Okay, now one thing where you have to remember is that if you have more than one default arguments, then keep it in the end. Don't mix them with the other arguments. Okay, so let's save this. Let's say default, and let's go up. Let's come here, default, and let's quit.